Let's continue on.
Okay. Nitro 85, also April 28th. So Vader's name obviously was in the news, and WCW capitalized by showing Ric Flair beating him for the World Championship at Starrcade a few years prior to this. If you've never seen it, that match is great. Oh.
So very clever because they simultaneously buried Vader, who they hated, and they also put over the idea that Flair slayed the big men, and therefore Kevin Nash was in trouble at the
That's right. That's right. They tied it in. They made it relevant. Flair and Piper came out for a promo. They hit the announce desk. This is amazing. Talking about how the NWO said they ruined the business. So Piper, the babyface, runs down the NWO as youngsters who are too lazy to fill in a few potholes and say they were part of, and I quote, the young generation that just wants to skateboard and collect your check.
Nash doesn't skateboard.
The more things change in this world, the more they stay the same. That's all I can say about that. So he said he didn't want to wait till Charlotte. He wanted to fight tonight. Prince Iaka versus Dean Malenko.
Didn't even mention Flair dancing around like an idiot in the place going absolutely crazy.
Just marching in place, throwing his hair back.
Didn't really say anything.
Just
didn't matter.
He was just Flair.
It was the highlight of the whole thing.
Oozing charisma the whole time.
We got a Jeff Jarrett promo vowing he had 1,001 counters for Dean's 1,000 holds.
This was the best inset promo I've seen in decades.
Yeah.
He got in there, he said what he was going to do and why he wanted to do it, and then he got out. It was great.
And speaking of that, this is the best Prince Iaka match I've seen in, well, ever.
What a goddamn shocker. He faced Dean Malenko.
Well, that's why.
There was some kind of giant brawl in the crowd that distracted everyone, including Iaka at one point, who actually looked into the crowd as he was doing an Irish whip. He had a very frenetic match on fast forward the entire time, and Dean won with a power slam and cloverleaf, and the crowd popped huge.
Malenko's awesome.
You don't say.
And a groundbreaking revelation here on this show.
Do you know who else was an awesome WCW cruiserweight that gets forgotten when people talk about this era? Six was awesome.
As we discussed last week.
Yeah, this is even more evident.
Yeah.
Because he was not wrestling Rey Mysterio Jr.
That's correct.
He was wrestling Juventud, which has a much greater margin for error.
And boy, was there an error here in this match.
Many errors by Juventud here, but Six basically covered up, well, most of them.
So let me talk about this one spot that if you have not watched this, or even if you have, you've got to go back. Six is selling for him early, and they're going to do a deal where Juvi runs up the ropes and does something.
Hurricane Rana.
Whatever it is, he fucks it up.
Badly.
And Six tosses him over his head a little bit, and as he does, there is an instantaneous, it's like for the briefest moment, you see this look of disgust on the face of Six. And he responds with the craziest, fastest, most violent spinning kick in the history of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing that Jean-Claude Van Damme did in Bloodsport or Kickboxer or any of his fucking movies that was as fast and violent and vicious as this. Now, Juvi, a perfectly timed bump, because if he had not, he would be dead. Mm-hmm. Six, in no way. There was no attempt to protect the man. There was no attempt to pull this kick. It would be...
No, he followed through with it.
Yeah.
It's not even a follow through. This kick was going at 100 miles an hour from beginning to end.
Do you remember once you and I did a match in Portland against Blaze Daly and somebody, and later we're going back over the over the match, and there's a point where Blaze hit me with a super kick, and we watched it and we both screamed, and we went back and watched it in slow mo. And it was the same thing. Thank goodness I took a bump at the right time because he threw this kick aiming several feet behind my head.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to travel through the point where my head had so recently been. And had I not reacted in time, I would also be dead. Now, this is like that, only much faster.
I think that if there would have been a tree and he would have thrown this kick, he would have chopped the tree in half. And I'm talking a good, thick tree.
Sure.
Man.
So he did his best to make Juvi look like $1 million, which worked whenever Juvi wasn't slipping off the ropes. Then he took over. He looked like $1 million. Juvi makes his comeback, including a springboard somersault dropkick to Six's face.
That looked brutal.
Yeah. he finally missed a Cabrata, and Six locked in the crossface chicken wing. And this week, he actually locked it in. Usually he just kind of grabs the guy's arm and head and leans back. This time he locked in a goddamn chicken wing and cranked it in for the submission win. Six ruled.
That was amazing. This match was amazing.
It's funny too because they would see Hoovy setting up for something, and the crowd would, you could tell they were getting amped up, and you could hear the buzz in the crowd, and then he would screw it up, and then the crowd would just die, and then Six killed him.
Yes.
It was great.
We had the road report with Lee Marshall from Florida.
What a dork! I'm so sick of this guy. I'm done with him.
I've been sick of him actually for 20 years.
Fair enough.
His big joke this week was referencing the Battle of Little Big Brain and Chief running Weasel.
That's not even. That's so stupid.
It's his only job
They're all stupid.
to do this this little segment, and these are the jokes he comes up with 6 days of preparation.
Dude, he's had a couple of clever ones in the very beginning. Now he's completely out of material.
How many weasel jokes can you come up with in a lifetime?
Right. Move on. Find something else.
That is a good idea. The Outsiders and Six came out to take over the announce desk. They demanded if they were going to wrestle Piper, Flair, and Green at the pay-per-view as advertised, they demanded 75% of the gate.
It's Conor McGregor.
It is exactly Conor McGregor. It's astounding how much art reflects reality, or vice versa, or whatever I'm trying to say. Chris Benoit versus Lord Steven Regal.
Okay, listen up, everybody. Okay, as bad as these stupid headbutts are, and as stupid as they are, when they do the shoot headbutts and they're both bleeding all over, I guess it's not a shoot, but a stiff headbutt, and Regal ends up busted open, as stupid as it is to legitimately be headbutting each other, these two dumb shits should have figured out after the first time
Right.
that if you do this and somebody gets busted open, they're going to zoom all the way out and nobody's going to be able to see your match on television. This is the second time that they have done the stiff headbutts, Regal's been busted open, and they've zoomed 90 miles out like a rainmaker just occurred. Mm-hmm. They've got to stop doing these damn headbutts. Because, God, the match looked great.
The 3 minutes this went was some of the most beautiful groundwork and grappling you'll ever see. Regal was bleeding everywhere. They zoomed way out. And I believe this is supposed to go longer, but due to the blood and because they were just doing a DQ finish anyway, Sullivan said, fuck it, I'll just go out there now. So Sullivan hits the ring. He actually has to pull Regal off the ropes to attack Benoit.
And you can see they just got a little shot of Regal, and his hand is completely covered in blood.
Yeah. So Benoit and Sullivan brawl up the aisle. Jacqueline runs out. Woman and Jimmy Hart are out there too. And Meng appears out of nowhere and puts Benoit in the Tongan death grip.
Oh, man. It's coming. Meng against Chris Benoit.
So Regal tries to save. Meng laid him out too. Woman begs Sullivan to stop, begs Meng to stop. Finally, he did. And all the Dungeon of Doom left as Regal and Woman tended to Benoit. Randy Savage did a promo paid for by the NWO. This was awesome. The whole gimmick of these NWO promos is that they were heavily edited anyway, with all kinds of camera cuts and stuff. So the first minute of this was all of Savage's gag reel footage and all of him messing with Elizabeth and trying to make her laugh for 30 seconds. Then, eventually, when the comedy's out of the way, they put the comedy aside and he becomes very serious, running down DDP, threatening to take him out and take his woman. And this all worked because the first part of it was Randy Savage actually acting like a normal human. So when he threatened to violently attack Paige, it came off eminently believable.
Except the man is still on crutches.
A minor detail.
And he wants to steal this guy's woman as he's standing there next to Liz.
Right.
Listen.
Other than all of that, it was awesome.
Liz and Randy at this point are among the least believable couples you'll ever see. They are working together. They have a professional relationship, and it's eminently clear if you look at them for 2 seconds. Lex Luger and Giant versus the Amazing French Canadians.
Oh my God, Luger! First off, they get the heat on Luger by double backdropping him stomach first into the top rope.
Badly.
They damn near killed him.
Looks painful.
Almost as bad as Shelly Martinez.
So Big Show makes a comeback. The place goes crazy. They did the chokeslam rack finish again, and the place loses its shit. They love Lex Luger. God, he was over. I don't even really know what the point of this was, except to make everybody cheer.
Just to get
over this team.
Get Luger and Giant on TV, have him win. And I know, obviously, it's 1997, and these things are basically 2 decades old, but They talked about the NWA and NBA playoffs coming up next, and this is so old the Knicks were in the playoffs.
I love when Bobby Heenan plugged Mancow and said he was hotter than Howard Stern right now.
That is a lie.
And Larry responds, in my cadence, Mancow?
He did, actually. That's exactly what he said. Steve and Michael versus the Barbarian.
Oh,
this was so good.
A phenomenal match.
I wrote a fucking goddamn motherfucking slobber knocker.
Yes.
And I may have undersold it.
Barbarian looked at this great big football player and said, fuck you. And went right at him. He essentially forced Mongo to fight back just as hard as Barbarian was fighting to get any offense at all. The best part of this whole match, the best part of this whole show, perhaps the best part of 1997, Mongo whips him into the turnbuckles. Barbarian takes a super hard turnbuckle hit. And Mongo, rather than follow up, he stops to jaw jack at the crowd or point at fans or whatever. And Barbarian says, well, you had your chance. And he steps out and he boots Mongo in the face.
Yes, so great. And then the heat.
Oh, yeah.
He's just like throwing Mongo around. He throws him outside. He powers him up and throws him into the post back first. And then he takes him in the ring and kills him with a pile driver.
This was a Rob Van Dam sell of a pile driver, and Mongo...
It was a shoot, though.
Yes.
He leaped in the air, and I don't even know how this is even possible because I kind of understand gravity. Like, he jumped up in the air, okay? He grabs the guy in a pile driver position, and he leaps in the air, and somehow Barbarian fell to the earth faster than Mongo.
Right.
So Barbarian's ass hits the ground about a split second before Mongo's head. So Mongo is essentially just falling headfirst towards the earth. I have no idea how he survived this.
Eventually, Barbarian shoved the ref to distract himself. So Deborah passed Mongo the briefcase. She took the ref, and Mongo waffled.
Hold on.
Uh-oh.
That's not exactly what happened. She throws him the deal, and the Barbarian is back to Mongo. And Mongo gets the briefcase, and he stands there, and he raises it over his head, and then he raises it a little further, and then a little further, and the Barbarian finally turns around, and he El Kabonged the Barbarian as hard as he could in the head. And the Barbarian fell down. Shortly after Bobby Heenan said, that won't hurt the Barbarian. He was wrong.
He was.
He El Kabonged him for the pin. This was the match of the year.
So Flair and Piper come out for another promo. They quickly called out the NWO. Specifically, Flair said he knew he could whip Six's ass. He said he had been world champion more times than Six had had pieces of ass. That's what he said. Mm-hmm. The NWO music started, then stopped, and then propaganda and paraphernalia began to fall from the ceiling.
Paraphernalia.
Is that what I said?
I just wanted to make sure I got that word in there.
Yeah. It was signs reading Tradition Bites NWO for Life.
And by the way, what this did was it armed the fans. They now had garbage to pelt the ring with.
That's true. So Flair tells them, you drew the house, come on out and face it. This feud is weird.
You know, I don't want to get on Nash again because then everyone goes, "Oh, Brian, why do you have this problem with Nash? You have some personal issue." But you know what? These three NWO guys. You had Hall, you had Nash, and you had Six. Hall never had any problem selling for anybody. Six, when they came out, he ran right past those two guys, and Ric Flair immediately beat the living hell out of him.
Yeah.
Nash never sells for anybody. What a dick.
Doesn't or can't?
He just doesn't. Piper was throwing shots at him the other week, and he's just standing there like, you old fucker. Like, come on. Be a professional.
So Flair is attacking the NWO. Meanwhile, Piper is staring at the sign, standing there, letting Flair get triple teamed to death. The announcers are asking, where's Piper? Flair is screaming, Piper! Piper! As Nash holds his arms and Hall's throwing punches. Eventually, Piper shows up and makes a save with his belt. And that was a bizarre ending. I'm not sure what they had in mind for the segment.
I'll tell you what happened.
All right.
So the show is supposed to end exactly how it did. Roddy's going to go out there and he's going to start attacking the guys, and that's right when the show ends. But I guess the NWO either came out too early or Six ran too fast, and so there was a little bit of extra time. And so Roddy had two choices. He could either run out there early and they would have an extended brawl until the show went off the air, or he could wait and do as was originally planned and run out right as the show went off the air.
I see.
He chose plan B, which made him look like a numbskull.
Yeah.
It made Flair look like a numbskull. It made everybody watching at home wonder, what in the hell is going on here? Yeah. Where is Roddy? So that was just what happened.
Yeah, he was just staring. He had picked up one of the flyers and was staring at it.
He seemed moved.
Yes, he was.
Tradition does bite.
He's in deep contemplation
over
what he is reading on this paper. Meanwhile, his buddy is getting killed on the floor by the NWO.
Crying for help, calling him out by name. Still, that segment was not perfect, but I thought Raw was awesome. I thought Nitro was awesome. This was the first time that I think we've been doing this where it really felt like the Monday Night Wars were, in fact, an awesome thing to be a part of.
Absolutely.
These two shows ruled.
This was great stuff. All right, we got a song, everybody. From Drew.
Cool. This is the first time we tried this tonight.
All right. Here we go. Vinny, you'll like.
You know,
I like that one you say.
Win Iaka dubstep version.
I was just thinking, you know, what this show is really missing? EDM.
Hey, there you go. All right, everybody, that's it. We're going to wrap it up from here. We will be back on Thursday with Granny, NXT. What else do we do on that day? Lucha Underground.
And Raw.
And Raw, that's right. Oh, my God. Actually, Raw was fun this week, Vinny. Maybe you'll enjoy it.
Last hour sucked.
We'll see.
I shall do my best.
That's right. So that's it for me, everybody. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Good night.
Bye.